Hi viewers, it's Pete Mwanza once again on another exciting and interesting episode of Family Life Matters. I'm really excited about today's topic. Today's topic is really pivotal in life, as a survival skill, but we'll be zeroing in from the lens of a marriage relationship. After all, we are all about family. But before we go into the topic, or before I introduce the topic, I have three distinguished guests, and I would like them to briefly introduce themselves. Just, dear guests, your name, talk a little bit about yourself from a family perspective, and maybe your interests in family matters. I'll start with my immediate left.
Thank you so much, Pip. Welcome, viewers. Thank you for your time to listen to us. I am Bernard Ejare, a pastor, a counselor, and a family man. Thank you.
Welcome, Bernard.
Solomon Serenjeri is my name. Thank you, Pete. And I'm an engineer by profession, but I'm a seeker of knowledge and understanding. I engage a lot in finding out new things, which is why I am part of this Family Matters, to learn more and share more.
Thank you, Solomon. Solomon is actually a veteran on this show now. I think he's been on quite a few episodes, so it's always good to have you, Solomon. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Terina, and I am an educator, a wife, and a mother. I am very family oriented, and it's my pleasure to be here with you.
Welcome, Terena. You are the lily among the thorns. Great to have you. Actually, Terena has been on one of the prayer episodes, so it's always it's always a pleasure to have you. Viewers, we'll be talking about communication, the key to emotional closeness. When you actually think about communication, it's unquestionably the most important, or one of the most important human survival skills. It is through communication that we're able to translate what our thoughts are, what our feelings are, what our needs are. And we are also able to understand the needs, thoughts, feelings of those around us. It is critical, to communicate effectively. In fact, research shows that communication is the primary determinant of relationship satisfaction. Mark that, viewers. It is the primary determinant of relationship satisfaction. Talking about relationship satisfaction from a marriage point of view, my research here shows that 60 to 70% of couples report not being satisfied in their marriages. And we're saying communication is the primary determinant. So really interesting topic, and I hope you stay with us. But to kick us off, I'll start with Bernard. Bernard, what is communication?
Thank you so much, Pip. Communication is what allows us to interact with people and things around us. That's the simple put. Communication is between a sender and the recipient. And through this communication, we have medium or channel or ways through which we interact with the others that we want to interact. So there is communication. It's a very nice put, that quotation that you said, what communication. And also one person, Leonard, that's William Priestley, quoted as communication is the fuel that makes the fire burning. And all communication is the fuel that makes the car move. You can have just a brand new car without a fuel, or as some say, mention a gas, the car will not move. The engine will not start. So as we are talking of in terms of marriage or relationship, without communication, how can you interact with your partner? So there's communication. You will come to various ways that we communicate, but the definition is that you interact. We interact with things, we interact with animals, we interact with human beings. But so with your partner, that is where the engine or the fire burns is the communication.
Thank you, Bernard. I really like the way you put it as, the gas, the fuel. So if there's no fuel, then there'll be serious problems,
Yes.
right? There'll be serious problems in this marriage. Solomon, can you please talk very briefly about the different types of communication?
Thank you, Pete. To build on what Bernard actually alluded, it's a tool actually. It's a tool as well through which we drive ourselves. Human beings have this tendency to be validated, and the only way we do that is through communication. So the most well-known ways of communicating is verbal communication. You use the mouth to make sounds, and those sounds, whether they come out, they can be interpreted as negative or positive. Nonetheless, that is the most straightforward way of communicating. I stand before you, I organize my thoughts, and I make a speech in front of you. Whether you receive it negatively, my intentions or whatever, that is another matter, but that's one way. The other way is non-verbal, which actually is the loudest way to communicate, even more so than verbal communication. Hues, the way we use other senses of the body, such as our eyes, how we make eye contact, how we shrug and sit in front of our partner, and how we use, all the other things that we have, non-verbal communication. Much as we try to separate them, they're mutually exclusive. It's actually, they're indivisible, if I put it that way. This is just a way to simplify the organization of the subject, but rather they work hand in hand.
So you've talked about verbal, non-verbal, and non-verbal could be visual, written. Not a long time ago we talked about gestures, which are a form of communication. So yeah, thank you very much for just putting us in the right path there. Terena, I would like you to talk about, I've got some statistics here actually. I was doing some research just before we came on screen here. I was looking at the top 6 reasons for divorce in the UK. Okay, one is unreasonable behavior, infidelity, lack of connection or commitment, money troubles, poor communication, growing apart, abuse. Now, although poor communication has been listed as one of the top 5, if I look through actually all these, you find elements of communication in each of those. So my question is, if communication is the fuel, as Bernard said, why is it that most couples are failing to effectively communicate?
Well, in the book Fight Right, Doctors John and Julie Gothman, they listed many reasons why couples will find it difficult to communicate, or they don't communicate effectively. And one of the reasons, are lack of knowledge of the problem, lack of empathy, a negative response can be one of the reasons. Even your personality can be one of the reasons why couples communicate, they struggle to communicate effectively. Because if I'm not aware of the problem, how can I communicate the right way? So that can be a reason. If I don't have that empathy, if I'm coming with you with a negative response, it is going to affect our communication. So these are some of the things that I believe that affects it as well.
Really, really interesting. Bernard wants to say something on this.
Yeah, in fact, as he said, the communication is a very big and broad. We live by communication. So in relationship, everything is communication. We have influences in the communication. As Solomon said, the types of communication, we have the 2 major types. When you go into it also, we have even the verbal, we have the oral.
Yes.
And also we have the written.
Yes.
When you go to the non-verbal one, we use the 5 senses. That's majorly known, that the 5 senses of just human being that we use. You use your eyes, you use your nose, that's smelling and hearing, and also tasting and the touching. But one big one that is more irritating, that people ignore or people don't know, that one, the 6th one, is ignoring all the 5 senses. So in relationship, so can't you hear?
Interesting actually what you mentioned here.
Can't you hear? So as I'm talking to you, can't you hear? you see? So that means that you are talking to your partner. To use all the senses, all the communication, nothing is working. Somebody actually says that somebody can stand as a stupor. Stupor, they'll be looking at it as you don't even exist.
Yeah.
You are not even talking to him or her. He doesn't even mind you.
Yeah.
So he has neglected all the five senses. The person is not dead. The person is not in coma, but the senses are not working. You could see that the other person will be irritating. And also we have the rules of listening. If these rules of listening is ignored, that one also it disturbs the communication also as well. And one also thing is that we have cultural influence.
How we communicate. Yeah.
How we communicate.
Yeah.
Cultural influence like this. In my culture, I don't know that of yours, to use your left hand to give something, to use your yes, a sense of the respect, or we don't do that. Greeting somebody using your left hand, giving something else. So in fact, it took me a time to overcome this. Even when I see people just stretching their left hand to put offering into a collection bowl, or using the left hand to take something which is a ritual like communion service, thinking something like, before I overcome that, this is cultural differences. So we have all this influence.
Yeah, I'll stop you there, Bernard. But I think you've talked about quite a bit which will come up.
Yeah.
I like the thing you talked about listening, and I would like us to actually dedicate some time to look at this. But before we do that, Solomon, so we've established that there's an issue with regards to communication, looking at the numbers, look at statistics, right? In terms of the index of satisfaction in a marriage relationship. So what are the principles of effective communication? And as we are looking at that, I would like Terena to look at actually the process. You know, Bernard talked about a number of things, including the cultural aspects, but the process of communication, what does it look like? And when we look at this, right, we want to see what items are we missing. He talked about listening. We'll come back to that, but I'd like you to look at, what should an ideal communication process look like? But before that, Solomon.
Yeah, I was just thinking as Pastor was elaborating, because I'm left-handed, and I was thinking, could I have done something?
He'll forgive you. He'll forgive you.
But anyway, effective communication is important because it's got to be deep. We tend to confuse effective communication with eloquence. They are not in any way related. Why? Because there is cliche communication. You do it just for the purposes of filling the room. How are you? Good morning. That is fine, but that is not entirely the story. That is cliche. It's very superficial. We all do that. It's like asking someone how is the weather, or meeting someone in the lift and saying how are you. In marriage, it's more important rather to be intentional. It's like storytelling. Actually, storytelling is a little bit deeper than that, where you take time to listen to your partner. Listening is very important, as Pastor said. Listening brings out a little bit more without interrupting. Even if your emotional state demands that you do that, no. Rather, you have to be patient, and also not to communicate with anger. Because sometimes we want to communicate something genuinely, but because of our emotional state, we mix the two, and we're not able to do that. The other thing is that the physical presentation while communicating is important. If while I'm talking to Terena here, I'm looking the other way, or she's not looking at me, it feels very, very, it's very derogatory. Like I don't matter. It's that eye contact is very, very important. In communicate, and you keep it for as long as it's my turn to speak.
This is really important what you talk about. Where I come from.
Yeah.
Okay. We were taught, and Bernard mentioned this before. The cultural context. We were taught that when an adult is speaking to you, don't look them in the eye. Okay. This is what we were taught.
Right.
then but you know, so you tend to adapt. So I think that the cultural aspect is quite important here. You know, I think you mentioned you talked about the cultural aspect as well. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, what Solo is saying is that the eye contact doesn't mean that you should stare at the person. Be looking, just staring at the person. Let the person see that
Sorry.
yes, you are just looking, and you are using the sense of the eye.
Yes.
to see that yes, you are listening to the person.
Cool.
Not
Excellent.
just
And you
stare.
just
thank
did
you,
one
thank
of
you.
them.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Nodding is very important, you know, while to appreciate and acknowledge that,
Yeah, to
okay,
acknowledge, yeah.
there is tonality. That is one thing. But also the other thing is the words themselves. You know, it's an art, and some people are better communicators than others. For example, if you want to communicate of how you feel not getting enough help cleaning the house, and you say, you know, you never do anything in the house, that is correct. But how about you put your emotional feelings and you say, you know, I think there is something that would be much better if we work together to clean the house. That is a much better way of communicating, because you're not victimizing, objectifying the other person, because you're inviting, you know, a very harsh response in return. And people tend to be very defensive when you attack them. But if you're more inclusive, then they will be more willing to help in that regard.
And you know, before I go to Terena, I think picking up what both of you, Bernard, and yourself, Solomon, have said, I'm getting the sense that communication is a skill, and it is learned. You know,
Yes.
based on just what you're saying, it is learned. And also, Bernard talked about the senses as well, right?
Mm.
I'm also picking up something here that it is impossible not to communicate. You know, it is impossible not to communicate. You may not be verbal, but you'll be communicating something by what. So, for example, what you are talking about, right? To say, you know, the eye contact. I may not be having eye contact. I'm actually communicating something. You are perceiving this as lack of respect, right?
Right.
Or lack of interest. So
Yes.
I think these.
Yeah, but before I just forgot one thing, feedback. While you're talking, I remembered feedback.
Okay.
Humans rely on feedback, and we cannot get that feedback if there is no sense moving, if there's no
Yes.
feedback.
Yes.
Whether, you know, if you're looking down, people, they are desperate to see how you interpret their communication, and based on that, they'll give you. But if there is no feedback, then communication is likely to break down.
Thank you. Before I go to Terena, Bernard, after Terena, I would like you to talk about the listening aspect, because you brought this up. You know, we say listening is an important part of communication. Now, maybe we'd like to look at what are some of the causes or reasons for failure to listen. Because you mentioned this, so I would like you to delve a little bit more. But Terena, please, go ahead.
You see, communication in marriage is not a one-size-fits-all type of situation. So I don't know if to use the word ideal is appropriate, because what might be ideal for me and my husband is different. You know, might be different for you and your spouse. But there are some key elements that we have to consider as well when you talk about ideal communication. Communication in marriage starts from the heart. You know, it involves love. It involves respect.
Respect.
Yes. You know, it should involve all of that, and also empathy as well in the marriage for you to be communicating. Because if you have love, respect, and empathy, your words will be different. Your actions will be different. That's ideal. You know,
Excellent.
does it always work like that? No. So for you to create, I think, you know, as couples, we need to create that environment that fosters effective communication, or some sense of communication to start with. Allow your get to know your partner, I should say, and see what type of communication works best for your partner. You know, as for me, I'm very vocal. I'm bold when I'm speaking, versus, you know, my partner is very reserved. So if there's a problem, I would tend to want to deal with it right there and then. But he would say, he's much calmer. So maybe this problem for him will be resolved tomorrow. So I don't know if I can give you an ideal.
No, I think you've given me
Yes.
some tips there. You've talked about empathy. which putting yourself in the other shoes, which entails feedback
Yes.
as well. So I think this is really important, and I think empathy applies to all.
All
Right?
love and respect applies
Respect.
to everything.
Respect applies
Yes,
to all.
because if you love and you respect, your words will be different. You will
Correct.
choose your words carefully when you are communicating with your partner. And Solomon mentioned eye contact, being an active listener, and Bernard will expound on that as well. When you are having a conversation, you should be in the right mindset, as well as physically to have that conversation. There should be minimal distraction, if any.
Yeah.
You should have, if you need to, have your points ready, whether it's physically written down or in your mind, what you want to discuss, what this conversation will be about. That's
Excellent. No. Really excellent. Empathy, respect. And respect is really loaded, because it also talks about it's not a one-way traffic.
yes.
You need to understand, you need to get feedback and confirmation on what your partner is saying.
Yeah.
Bernard, listening.
Thank you so much. Communication, the sender is an intention to send a message, transmit a message to the recipient. Before it gets there are barriers. These barriers can be created by the sender as well as the listener. If I want to send a message to my partner, how do I send it for him or her to get it? That one is one. What language am I using? The language, maybe you are learned, you are far ahead, so you are using big words, big English or big vocabularies that your recipient cannot understand. You are creating a barrier yourself.
Yes.
You are somebody that's not like how you speak. You are shouting at the person. Just naturally has even close the ears to listen to you, because even you are sending, but you are creating barriers on that. And also the one aspect as the listener that you said, we have number one, we have a bored listener. Being a bored listener is when you start, there he go again. Meaning that I've heard you before. You've been just saying this all the time, nagging. Let the person finish before you start that thing. So you will not let the person finish. That is a bored listener. That doesn't. We have selective listener. The selective listener also, what he is interested, picking on those interested, the other ones that he will ignore that one also. And then we have the defensive listener. It's very defensive. These are the people who just cut in. As you are saying, he will not let you finish, be cutting in just your word. That is something also, big barrier that just block communication also as well. That then the interruptive listener. Defensive one is where just he will be defending whatever, but let the person finish. Then the interruptive listener. Then we have the intensive listener. The intensive listener, he doesn't grab what you say. All the time, he find it difficult to grab the message that you bring. That we have to guard against all these barriers that we create in the communication as well, and also using some senses, as we said. All these are barriers that we can create in the communication.
Very interesting point you brought about on barriers. I never thought of it actually like that, but I can see. I can see where where that is coming from. Solomon, you wanted to say something?
I wanted to. This is really very
really good,
interesting.
really good output. Yes.
Yeah, because listening is at the core, and also being misinterpreted. You cannot do anything when you say something and someone misinterprets. You fight hard to try and correct yourself, but at last you've made the wrong statement. It's always very important also to understand they're called temperaments. As you are speaking, I remembered about temperaments. Normally, two people cannot be the same. Some people are better listeners than even the attention span. Some people have 1 minute attention span. If you understand the attention span of your partner, for example, you'll tend to do more non-verbal communication than verbal communication. If your partner says little and you say more, you do most of the talking in the communication, that can have an influence on the outcome.
All right,
Okay.
we've run out of time. We will come back after the break, and I think we'll continue because this really communication is really, really loaded. Now, just for our viewers, please subscribe. Feel free to subscribe, to like, and to share what you're seeing. After the break, we'll continue where we are stopping here, and I would like to encourage any questions that you may have on the subject matter of communication. Please send them in. You see the email scrolling over on the screen as we go on this break. See you in a bit. Thank you.
Hello everyone and welcome back. Today's special message is about communication. Healthy communication is the heart of a strong family. Open, honest conversations build trust, resolve conflicts, and strengthen connections. On the other hand, poor communication can lead to misunderstandings, hurt feelings, and emotional distance. Speak, listen, and understand. Your words have the power to bring your family closer together. Stay safe, see you next time, and goodbye.
Welcome back, viewers. We're still on the topic of communication, the key to emotional closeness. This is your host, Pete Mwanza. Just before the break, Bernard gave us a really juiced download of barriers that are created by the listening part. You know, we established that listening is a key component of communication. Now, Bernard, I'd like you to talk about signs of a good listener. You know, you talked about the various listening styles that create barriers in communication. But I mean, for the benefit of all of us and the viewers as well, what are the signs of a good listener?
Okay, thank you so much, people. As said earlier, as you recognize the barriers, then how do I listen, be effective listener? Number one that you should consider is that, as Van Pelt said, we have facial expression alone cover 55% of communication. So if I'm a listener, my facial expression alone will tell the sender a message, whether you are interested or not. So facial expression is very, very important. So be alert to the body languages. The body languages, that's very important, that your sender will see that yes, what I'm saying, what I'm expressing it will bring some negative impact or is received very well. That one is so. Be a door opener. Be a door opener is that somebody is talking to you. Oh yes, then what happened? Door opener, because you are inviting the message to flow, to come. So you, as you are bringing this invitation, that prompter that you bring, so be a door opener for the message. That's very important also indeed. Be an active listener. Being an active listener, you are drawing something from what the person is communicating, that yes, you understand what he is saying. Be an active communication listener. So then you come to the rules. Now you see the rules of listening. Rules of listening. As we said earlier, the first one, that is very important that we should see. Make an eye contact. As I'm just watching to you, you
Yes.
are nodding.
Yes.
So this eye contact shows that yes, the communication is ongoing, is flowing very well. You should be there. So another thing that you should consider as you are listening, listen attentively by not cutting in. That one we have, as I said, some cultural basis is a taboo or something that you should not cut in somebody when the person is
He's
talking.
yeah.
That is a lack of respect. So let the person pause before you can. Yeah, as I said, door opener and some interested that you should, tell me more. That one you can say. But to cut in that you bring your results, let the person talk that one. Also, you have to, and have time. That's a right place to listen. The person is talking to you. Let's say husband is talking to you. You are busy going on the kitchen, doing so forth, as if you don't have time. Add time to the person.
Yeah.
That one also, it doesn't help.
So give the attention.
Yeah, give the attention
so
to.
Bernard, what about the feedback part? Because sometimes I may say something to you, right? And you may perceive it differently. So I think, do you think having that, playing back what the party speaking to you is important? Is that part of good listening, to say, so you are saying?
Yes, that's a phrase. You call it that a phrase, that you are creating a phrase that then what happened, and so then all this that you can bring it to let the communication flow. But when it comes to a negative way, that will turn the communication to something else, that it becomes a barrier.
Okay.
Yes, it becomes a barrier that you are not allowing the communication
To flow.
to move on. But you show some interest of what is going. You invite the person, then tell me more. What happened? And so,
Excellent.
and so all these phrase words that you say, it helps the communication to flow. That is a good listening, that you have time to listen, and at least let the person speak at least 30 seconds before you can also just come in, interrupt, and say something, so that you have a place that the person can pause. When the person pause, then you also come in with something that may be a question that you ask the person to clarify that situation.
Very, very, very good. I think you need to be a professor of active listening. All right, Terena, thank you very much, Bernard. Very, very, very informative, very educative. Terena, what does a marriage with poor communication look like?
A sad one.
Sad.
A depressed one. In a relationship or a marriage that has poor communication, you will have a lot of negativity. Resentment will be seen. A lot of aggression will be there. Chaos. Because if I'm having, say, an argument with my spouse and he is clueless about what the problem is, confusion will be in that marriage as well. Okay? So when you look at a marriage that has poor communication, as I said earlier, you will have resentment towards each other. Partners may focus on the negatives alone. There's never an opportunity for you to, give a compliment in that situation. You will also miss opportunities to communicate, to clarify, or to, what's the word I'm looking for? To ensure that whatever the argument is, it is sorted out.
It's misunderstood.
Yes, it's resolved. So you will have unresolved problems in the marriage. So without effective communication, there will be chaos. Unfortunately, poor communication can also lead to breakups or separation, even divorce.
Actually, Terena, just on that, I'm looking at some statistics as you're speaking. Statistics are showing that these are American statistics. 41% of all marriages end up in divorce because of poor communication. So what you're saying is really, really serious here. Bernard, you wanted to, I saw you nodding there.
Yes, let me now come down to the marriage itself and communication. You have to know your partner, number one. Know your partner, his or her background. That one also influence communication as well. Know the gender also.
Yeah.
Gender.
I was actually going to look at this because I would like you guys to look at different ways the two genders communicate. I would like to address that.
Okay, so the gender, know that in general knowledge, women speak more than men.
Terena, is this true?
Yes, there is that is a saying. They say that's knowledge has brought this that women they speak 6,000 words a day, while men speak 2,000 words a day. So when you know this, as a man, don't say that your wife talk too much.
Correct.
You are now blocking communication. You are building a barrier in communication. You know that they generally talk, so you have to know that. And also to be saying that, oh man, that's who I am, I don't like talking. If you don't like talking, you are not in a marriage that two, you are blending to become one. So you want the only one partner to be a talkative in the house. When he start talking, they say he's talk too much. Then you ignore the person when he's talking. So that one is not nice. You also should be a good communicator as well. And as we are talking of communication as well, 80% of communication is non-verbal.
Yeah, correct.
And the verbal is only 20%. So if you don't talk, doesn't mean you don't communicate.
Correct.
Maybe your communication is even more louder than the one who is using the verbal. Your expression that you are using, they talk even more louder. So you have to know all these things, that you should not ignore your partner when you are communicating. So effective communication, show less and show it to your partner that yes, you are also good in this by expressing, interacting with him or her. That's what you are doing. He really likes the person.
No, thank you,
Teacher,
Bernard,
can I
for
add
that.
something
Yes.
before you move on?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, poor communication in a relationship can affect the individuals in different ways, such as low self-esteem, depression. It can even cause anxiety. It can increase stress levels and also lead to loneliness as well.
Actually, the word you mentioned, one word, Terena, that sort of hit me. Sad. When there's poor communication in the family, it's sad. It's really chaotic, and a lot of marriages are unhappy because of simple things that with good effective communication, this could be sorted out.
They were not made clear.
So Solomon, I'd like us now to look at some of the areas in which couples are struggling with effective communication. One of the areas I can think of is sex. Thoughts, what's the issue, and what advice could we share here with our viewers?
I think, thank you very much. I was enjoying I was actually one of the viewers while the two were talking, enjoying the ride.
No, I'm also learning a lot, actually.
Yeah, but I mean, sexual relations, an area that many people find difficult. One, because expectations are different, Expectations are different. The definition of, conjugal rights in a marriage can be very different. For a man, for example, it is action. Whereas for a woman, sometimes they interpret sexual as the climax, as the climax of a journey that has been trodden over a long period of time. For them, intimacy is at the center of all things sexual. Whereas for a man, it is action. They don't want to engage in a lot of, dilly-dallying. They want the so now you find that you have an issue where you have tools, but you cannot use the tools simply because there is a breakdown in communication. So sexual relations, misunderstanding what our end goal is on a different level.
This is true what you're saying. So what's the advice here? What on this particular point, Bernard? I see you're itching. I don't know. I hope you don't like action, Bernard.
This comes to a level of communication.
Okay.
Some marriages are still on the level 5.
So talk to us about the levels.
The level 5 is the least that you interact with anyone, any ordinary person. How are you? That we build rapport.
Yes.
How are you? Greetings and so forth.
Yes.
You live.
Yes.
That is the level 5.
Yes.
Level 4 is where you can talk on something as you came here. What happened over here and so forth. Oh, very nice. You tell somebody, but while the person will not say anything back.
Yes.
Or they just say. The level 3, then you are now going to the intimacy. You see somebody, something that you admire. You admire, oh, you are very nice, very pretty. Can I get your contact and so on? Get into level 3. Level 2 is where you show your feelings. The person you show your feeling to, that you are interested, your joy, your emotion like anger and so forth. When it gets to level 2, then the couple, that level show that yes, my partner needs me. Yes, we need to meet in this level. That yes, they are showing interest that we have to just meet. You see, that level 2. So when it gets to level 1, this is where the joy to the ultimate that come. You say something or even unknowingly, I really enjoy it. What is
connection.
Yes, that one is the most intimacy. It is the joy of satisfaction. So if your communication is in level 5, that you don't just go into level 2, how do you expect your partner to have a sex with
Very
you?
powerful.
Especially the women. If you do not drive her to that level, how can he get the feeling to have even a sex with you? You see, so if you know this level, women are being driven, and if you drive them from the, let's say, the morning, from the communication, how is it, and so forth, you are just showing some interest in feeling her to drive her to level 2. She will open up, even invite you to go.
Hallelujah.
You see?
Hallelujah.
So if that communication is not working, ask Sister Terina if I'm lying.
Terena, please.
Ask her if I'm lying.
Somebody is talking about this.
Some women, some men just jump into no communication, even not even level 5.
Like
That
some-
don't jump into it. But the woman is not moved.
Actually, what you said, I know we are laughing here, but it's really important.
She's a woman. You ask her.
Terena, thoughts here.
I do agree with Bernard, and I can connect with what Solomon said. But as a female, it is very important to know your partner's love language. What is important. So what Bernard said earlier, building up that momentum, showing that interest from in the morning, sending those messages, those texts, and giving those compliments. You build up this, you're looking forward to something, you're looking forward to that intimacy. Because intimacy, it's not all about sex. It's about the attention.
Solomon disagrees with that.
Yeah, it's about the attention, it's about the emotions, during the day
I agree.
that surrounds that act of sex.
Correct.
So knowing your partner's love language is very important.
I think really, really good. Thank you, Terena, and thank you, Bernard. I think this sort of has given enough meat on this particular topic. I think you're nodding, Solomon.
Yeah, I'm nodding because basically, well, I think we've done due justice to this one, but another one, you mentioned this one, but there's also other areas that tend to suffer in terms of communication,
Yeah.
such as financial.
Yes,
actually.
this is another one.
That's
Yeah.
another elephant in the room.
Any thoughts on this?
So the
Very
thought
briefly,
is-
we are coming
Very
to
briefly,
wind up.
because many times we don't have an understanding who pulls the shots when it comes to financial matters, who makes the money, and who gets to decide how to disburse this money. Normally, this is the issue. Yes, for many families, the breadwinner is the man, but doesn't mean that he's also the most, the most able when it comes to handling financial matters. The woman or the women, sometimes they also want to be listened. They want to have some kind of presence when it comes to deciding how financial matters are made. And unfortunately, these two people cannot agree on this.
And I guess it comes to the levels that Bernard was talking about. I guess you wanted to.
I think when it comes to finance, that's a major topic that I hope maybe you bring it up, that the
Correct.
panel will do. Communication is a skill,
Yes.
which I urge everyone, being a skill, you learn
Correct.
to be also to
Yes.
be perfect.
Yes.
Don't remain in your altar and say that that's how I am. Build up your communication skills, and both partners, you live joyfully, and you will just lead this, transmit this to your kids, and they also will go far with this. So it's a skill that everyone should learn. We were not able to cover all the levels and all the barriers and all the, even the listening alone is topic.
Yeah.
When you
It's
go
a
to
topic,
communication,
okay.
if people go to school and learn communication only for 4 years.
True.
So you see, we have a very broad. So what I mean is that not just a communication. What we talk today is effective communication
Correct.
in marriage.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard.
Can I-
Now I'm coming to you. We have less than 3 minutes to go, so I'll start with yourself, Terena, with the your point you'd like to express. That after that, how can couples enhance their communication? Very briefly, within 30 seconds, your thoughts. I would like to hear from you, Terena, from yourself, Solomon, and from Bernard. Then we close. So please bring up your point. Then after your point, just give your thoughts on how couples can enhance communication in marriage. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I just want to add a little about finance. That in a marriage, even if the husband is the breadwinner, but the wife has the skills of budgeting
Correct.
and planning and setting goals, then the two can
Yes.
come together and be one and find the best thing that suits them, one for a better word.
Correct.
But sometimes we have to find that quality within our spouse that helps to make the relationship better when it comes to finance. If I'm a person that loves to spend, don't allow me to make the budgets. Okay, so that is important, and communication will come into play there, because we will communicate and you will see, the qualities coming out. But in regards to effective communication within a marriage, that was your question?
Yes. What words of advice would you give very briefly on how couples can enhance their communication in marriage?
Okay, be honest, be specific, be clear, be transparent, be respectful, and show love in all ways. And as Bernard said earlier, communication is a skill. Be willing to learn to communicate,
Excellent.
whether it's through verbal, non-verbal, and also to be an active listener.
Excellent. Thank
Yes,
you.
change the mindset. That's my
Change the mindset.
Yes.
Thank you, Terena. Solomon.
This is a good way to end. We should have otherwise ended there. But allow me to say that temperament is very, very important. People have to understand. There's some big words that we kept out of this that maybe we'll dedicate some time to understand. Words like sanguine, phlegmatic,
Yes.
melancholic, and so on and so forth. These are temperaments that different people, some people are more outgoing, some people are more eloquent when it comes to communicating superficial matters, others are more thoughtful. And we have to learn to be not just one, as I say, this is how I am, but to learn to be a little bit more considerate, to up and down. But what I wanted to say is about how to be more intimate, deliberately intimate. Go out for more walks. Otherwise, this thing, if you don't have, the more you do, hold hands, go out for more walks. Try to communicate to each other how your fears are, your emotional fears and stresses are. This will help you to feel more secure. Like, what are the job, issues, children, health. These things, open communication that doesn't even have to be one issue. Just open communication.
Thank you very much, Solomon. Bernard, your closing words.
Yeah, have time for each other. When it comes to communication, have time. Choose the appropriate time to communicate.
That is very
That
important.
one also is very important. One barrier that I did not mention that is killing marriages today is the social media. Having time for each other instead. The wife will be on the phone with TikTok, they will chat, Instagram, and so on. The man also be such a communicating with other different people, ignoring your partner. That's a big barrier. And also when you are communicating or listening, you have to block all other things that surround you that will distract the communication, like television, watching television, you're communicating, then watching football on the screen and so forth. They are all distractions that distract the communication. So you have time, in a good time, and listen to each other, which is very important to make the communication flow.
Thank you, Bernard. Thank you, dear viewers. Thank you, dear panelists. Dear viewers, we've come to the end of yet another interesting episode. I have personally learned a lot. I hope you also took away one or two things. Of course, the topic is so wide, so we could not exhaust it, but I thought there are some of the snippets that have come through that you can build on. But remember, one of the key takeaways for me is communication is a skill. And you may be wondering, how can I learn this skill? Again, if you don't know where to start, please feel free to drop us a note. We have sessions that can help you. We have people who can go even in more detail than what we've shared here and are willing to give you this information free of charge. So feel free to drop us a note. Meanwhile, subscribe, like, and share. This is Family Life Matters. Your host, Pete Mwanza. Salam alaikum.